We need to talk about what happened on May 25th, 2024. A call for medical help inside the Bibb County Jail seemed, pretty routine, but it kicked off a chain of events that ended with the death of 41-year-old Stephen Fossett. What came next was a mess of conflicting investigations, a family desperate for answers, and some really tough questions about systemic failure and just what accountability means. And this is where it all went so horribly wrong. A medical emergency, a man who needed help, spiraled into a fatal confrontation. This didn't start as a riot or some violent attack. It started with an inmate needing medical attention, but the system's response, to default to physical force, had deadly consequences. This statement from the Fossett family's attorney, it just cuts right to the bone, doesn't it? It's a powerful reminder that behind all the legal jargon and the official reports, this is a human story. It's the story of Stephen Fossett, a man whose family believes he was completely failed by the very system that was supposed to be responsible for him. So the big question is, how does a medical call turn deadly in just a matter of minutes? To really get it, we have to look at the timeline of that day, step by step. Look at how shockingly fast this all unfolds. In just 20 minutes, from 1:25 in the afternoon to 1:45, Stephen Fossett goes from someone needing medical help to being tased, restrained, and unresponsive. He was pronounced dead less than 2 hours after that first call was ever made. It's this rapid spiral that's at the very heart of his case. Now, the official story, the justification for everything that happened, really hinges on this one thing: K2, or synthetic marijuana. The district attorney's office basically said that Fossett's drug-induced combative behavior was the reason for the deputy's actions, framing the whole incident around it. And right at the start, you can see the cracks. An officer's report says a lieutenant actually told a nurse not to give Narcan, but the nurse went ahead and did it anyway. That's not just a simple disagreement. That's a critical breakdown, showing medical and security staff working against each other from the get-go. After Fossett ran, things got even worse. 2 deputies used their tasers, and this number, 13.24 seconds, is the total combined time that electricity was flowing. This very specific number would become a huge point of legal debate. And here's why that number is so critical. The DA's entire ruling pretty much rested on it. Because 13.24 seconds is less than the 15-second limit they talk about in training, she decided the force wasn't excessive. And because of that, it was legally justified. This one detail became the foundation for the decision not to press any criminal charges. But here's the thing. That legal justification, it runs smack into another official finding. After all this, 2 different government agencies looked at the exact same facts and came to completely opposite conclusions. And this right here is the central conflict of the whole case. On one hand, you have the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, the GBI, ruling his death a homicide. And on the other, you have the local district attorney declaring the force was justified, so no criminal charges. So how can both of those things be true at the same time? Well, the district attorney kind of gives us the answer herself. She explained that her office was looking at one very narrow question. Did the officer's actions break the law? It wasn't about whether this death was tragic, or even if it could have been prevented. It was strictly about whether it was, in her legal opinion, a crime. The medical examiner's report shows that this wasn't just one thing. It was like a fatal domino effect. The main cause listed was the toxic effects of the K2. But, and this is key, it was critically complicated by the physical struggle and the taser, and layered on top of all of that were Fossett's pre-existing conditions, like schizophrenia. To really understand how something like this could happen, we have to realize this wasn't just a one-off, isolated incident. We need to zoom out and look at the much bigger crisis happening inside the Bibb County Jail itself. 13. Since just 2020, there have been 13 in-custody deaths at the Bibb County Jail. 13. That's a number that points to a really deep and ongoing problem. And this list, it names the 13 people, including Stephen Fossett, who have died in that jail since 2020. Each name is its own tragedy, of course. But when you see them all together, it paints a picture of a really alarming and systemic pattern of failure. And hey, those aren't my words. They come directly from a Bibb County grand jury report. After they reviewed the conditions inside the jail, their official conclusion was blunt and pretty damning: disgusting and inhumane. So what does disgusting and inhumane actually look like? Well, reports describe extreme overcrowding. Some parts of the jail are at 150% capacity, forcing inmates to sleep on concrete floors. K2, the drug from Fossett's case, is reportedly everywhere. Add in infestations of rats and lice, frequent stabbings, you've got a place that's just in a constant state of crisis. It's an environment where a tragedy like this feels almost inevitable. But in the middle of all these reports and systemic failures, there's a grieving family just trying to find some answers. And their fight for accountability really brings the human cost of all of this into sharp focus. This is Stephen Fossett's mother, Paula Platt. After her son died, the county announced some new reforms. But for her, it just feels like damage control, way too little and way too late. She truly believes that if real changes had been made earlier, her son could have been saved. So the family is taking action. Yes, they filed a $10 million lawsuit, but their demands go way beyond money. They're pushing for total transparency, for the deputies involved to be put on leave, and for a new rule that requires an immediate GBI investigation every single time a death happens involving a deputy. This isn't just about justice for Stephen. It's about trying to fix the system for good. And this quote from Paula Platt really captures what this is all about for her. She knows her son wasn't the first, but she is determined to make him the last. It's a fight to finally break this horrible pattern. And that's where we're left. A death that the state's top investigators call a homicide, but the local prosecutor calls justified. A jail that a grand jury describes as inhumane, and a grieving family fighting for fundamental change. All of it forces us to ask a really difficult question. When a system is this broken, what does accountability truly look like?
Are y'all looking for a miracle? Yes.